Hello, everyone. Here is the better part of the list, the one everyone's been waiting for, the top 10 best and the top 5 worst films that I saw in 2017 that was released in 2017. I'm going to just say right now that there's one or two of these on this list, specifically one that was technically released in 2016. It didn't get released in North America and Canada specifically until 2017, so I will count that as 2017. So this is my list, so technically I did it my way. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start off with the worst movies. The top 5 worst movies I saw for the first time in 2017 that was released in 2017. Oh gosh, I need to shorten that. Number 5 is Justice League. The best of the worst, because even though the movie is a little bit Frankenstein put together, and with the two different directing styles clashing with the reshoots and Zack Snyder's stuff and all that, just seeing the characters standing next to each other, it kind of still works and is actually somewhat entertaining. I mean, I saw it twice in theaters. So, number 4, The Dark Tower. I still kind of enjoyed it for what it was, but it just, I knew just watching it, I'm like, there's no way that this is even anywhere near as good as what the magnum opus that was the original Dark Tower series, even though I've never actually read the Dark Tower series. I can tell that just from this movie. And I really liked seeing Idris Elba as the gunslinger. And Matthew McConaughey, he does a good whatever evil person he is. Overall, I did see it in theaters twice, but I not as entertaining as Justice League, so that's why it's number 4. Number 3 is Baywatch. Baywatch is... Did we really need a Baywatch movie? I mean, done in the style that it was, like... I mean, it could have been not... I don't know why I put this at number 3. It's just I thought it was bad. I mean, the thing that sticks out the most for me is the really fake CGI fire. Like, that was so... Like, sometimes there's CG where it's like, you know it's CG, but it looks good enough that you're like, you're fine with it. But this is CG, you know it's fake, and it looks horrible. Especially the way they shot it. I'm like, the CGI fire sticks out to me as the worst CGI of 2017. Anyways, number 2 is Ghost in the Shell. Originally, I put as number 1, but I was like, you know what? The CG was actually very nice to look at, and even though it wasn't really a great, or even though it wasn't even a decent adaptation of Ghost in the Shell, it just hit like enough stuff to be considered Ghost in the Shell, and there was a lot of also bad choices script wise and all that and everything, and it's just I wanted to put it number 1, but I didn't want my hatred for the movie to completely skew how bad a movie was, because it was actually decently done. It could have been done so much more better. Number 1 worst movie I saw in 2017 that was released in 2017. It pains me so much to say this because of how much I love this franchise. The worst movie is Pirates of the Caribbean 5: Dead Men Tell No Tale. The main reason I put this as number 1 is a lot of bad decisions script wise for I think the future of the franchise, and the 4th movie is 100 times better than this one just overall. And that movie, there's little gaps in between movies when they do production and all that, and there was less time between the 3rd and 4th movie than there was for the 4th and 5th movie. So they had so much more time to work on the 5th movie, and this is the stuff they come up with. Kind of ruined a little bit of the franchise for me, and even though I was sitting through the movie at the first time, I did somewhat enjoy it, but it, just looking back on it now, I'm like, definitely should have been done differently than what we got. Honorable mentions for worse lists, there are none. I actually couldn't believe it. There was nothing else I saw this year that I think could be considered bad enough to make the list. There's a reason why I only chose 5 for the worst section of the list, because I didn't watch enough movies to make a 10 list for worst movies. Same with my part 1. Now that we're starting into the best movies, I am going to have to start off with the honorable mentions for the best movies released in 2017 that I saw for the first time in 2017. In alphabetical order, The Hitman's Bodyguard. Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds just friggin' knocked this movie out of the park. Great comedy, great action, somewhat dark comedy in sections, but for the most part, it's just an action comedy, definitely. I just love seeing them tear into one another and all that. They did such a really good job of hating one another. It's not just them holding up the film. You also got a great performance by Salma Hayek and Gary Oldman. In another Gary Oldman role where you can't recognize it's Gary Oldman. Like, if you put him in this movie and Winston Churchill side by side, the Darkest Hour movie, like, you can't tell that's the same actor. A horror remake that I'm actually excited to see the director's cut released on Blu-ray, which apparently it is in a couple months. So I'm super excited for that, and I'm super excited for part 2. That never happens with a horror film, in my opinion, for me. So, the Lego Batman movie, honorable mention. Yeah, it definitely deserved it, even though seeing the Lego Batman movie in theaters, you're so used to the style, because after seeing the Lego movie, it's kind of hard to be amazed by the Lego movie again, but this time it's Batman as the central character. But, you know, they still managed to pull it off with a lot of references to the older Batmans and the newer Batmans as well, and it's a really funny, the modern day spoof. This is as close as we're going to get to a really good spoof movie. So, that and Deadpool and all that. But anyways, another one I wanted to mention was Live by Night, the Ben Affleck directed film. I thought it was really good. The chase scene alone in the movie is like one of the best chase scenes I've ever seen, using older cars and all that, and there's a lot of good things in that movie. And just overall, I think it was a movie that a lot of people overlooked, especially the fact that it was released, I think, in January. So anyways, here's one I didn't want to mention, but I kind of had to mention just because of how major the events of these movies were, was Thor Ragnarok. There were some major parts in it where it's like, even though the tone was back and forth between really funny and really serious, I still had to mention it just because of the world stuff that they did in Thor Ragnarok. A movie that I did want to mention, definitely, is Split. James McAvoy absolutely knocks this movie out of the park. And M. Night Shyamalan. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of M. Night Shyamalan films, but this was a really, really well done film from beginning to end. Spider-Man Homecoming, wanted to mention, out of all the Marvel films that I saw this year, just for once having a Spider-Man movie where the actor playing Spider-Man could be in high school. Just age-wise, and also the fact that, like, I think it was a really well done film, and Michael Keaton knocks it out of the park as Birdman. Some really great moments in that film, I think, especially for the franchise for Sony. Hopefully Sony doesn't screw it up now. And final one I want to honorably mention is Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. If you get rid of one of the best openings for a movie, like the opening scene montage is one of the best in the entire 2017. Like, if that was a short film on its own, that would probably win Best Picture. Like, that's just how good it is. If you get rid of that whole beginning, the rest of the movie, I think, is really just good enough that I wanted to mention it. It was really fun, entertaining. There was a couple moments where there's problems with it, but just overall, the entire movie, I think, really worked, and I really liked it for what it was. And also the 4DX, first time seeing a 4DX movie was this movie, so I don't know if that had something to do with it, but anyways. Here it is, the top 10 best movies I saw in 2017 that was released in 2017. Number 10, Kingsman: The Golden Circle. This was the movie I was most looking forward to this year, and it didn't really disappoint. It had a really good continuation of the Kingsman franchise, and it just some really great over the top moments. And looking back, I saw this movie twice in theaters. The first time seeing it, I was like, eh. But you know what? Seeing it again, the more I watch it, the better the movie gets, and that's a sign of a good movie, is the more you watch it, the better it gets. So, really enjoyed it, and if this really was a true sort of parody or opposite version of James Bond, I really would like to see this movie do another 20 more movies, just like James Bond. That's how fresh sort of this franchise and what you can do with it. Number 9 is Logan. I don't really want to say it's the Schindler List of superhero movies, but it definitely has a really downbeat and sadness to the last outing as Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. This is the kind of Wolverine movies they should have been making in the first place, and it's pretty sad that now we finally got one that's actually good enough. It's now the last one for Hugh Jackman. So, number 8 is Free Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Really like this movie just overall, even though it's so, I think it's a pretty unique drama. I just really liked sort of what they went with the movie. I don't know if it actually accomplished what it was trying to do, but it was just overall, I think it was a really great experience from beginning to end. Currently, this is the best movie I've seen by this director. Number 7 is John Wick Chapter 2. I personally think this is one of the best action sequels of all time, ignoring Terminator 2. I think John Wick Chapter 2 has a really great potential for being, when you look back years from now, of how great of an action sequel it is. It's really well done. Once again, with the first one, they elevated it as well as continuing it in such a way that it's actually really good, I think, story-wise, and I'm super excited to see the third one. Really great stunts and stuff, and just little moments, action-wise, that's like, it was just a great experience from beginning to end. Number 6 is Loving Vincent. If you push aside the fact that this movie is a work of art, literally, it is a good enough story, I think, that it deserves the number 6 spot. I really liked it, and then on top of that, you got this amazing hand-painted movie. Number 5, I'm actually shocked that this movie actually got to the number 5 spot. I did like it, I did enjoy this movie. It is Dunkirk. You can't ignore what Christopher Nolan did for Dunkirk, and in the terms of practical effects and just overall editing and all that. I saw it 3 times in theaters, and all 3 times was in the IMAX 70mm. And also, you got Hans Zimmer's very interesting score. Number 4 is Get Out. I really love this film. This has got to be my favorite horror film of the year, technically. It's a horror film. And it's also a really great suspense thriller, and a bunch of other things. Jordan Peele, for a first film, this is absolutely amazing. Way to go for making such a great film. Number 3 is Your Name. This is what that warning was at the beginning. Yes, this wasn't released in Canada until 2017. And I saw it in theaters. Your Name is absolutely beautifully well done story, and it transcends an anime film in general, just how good it is. And I went into it not expecting anything except that it was good, and I still walked out of the film I literally wanted to see it again as soon as it was over. I loved it. I don't know what else I could say about Your Name. And no, we're not talking about Call Me By Your Name. I haven't seen that movie. Number 2, Blade Runner 2049. So this is not including those free short films that Warner Brothers released before the release of Blade Runner 2049 that bridges the gap between the old movie and the new one. This movie on its own is just really well done and is a modern day epic, and I just can't believe how good of a job they did for a sequel for a movie that came out 30 years ago. Blade Runner 2049 is the second best movie I saw this year for the first time. Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford, absolutely. And the rest of the cast. Oh my gosh, I don't remember anyone else name-wise, but I love this movie. I saw it 3 times in theaters. Time for the number one movie of 2017 that I saw for the first time in 2017 that was released in 2017, and 2017 this, 2017 that, is Baby Driver. It is a little bit of an overrated film from what everyone's been saying. I loved it from the beginning to the end. It hooks you in. Great direction in the terms of syncing with music and editing, and just Edgar Wright really knocked this movie right out of the park. You got a great cast. Do not let the horrible Kevin Spacey make you not see this movie. He's not in it as much, and separate the personal life from the actual character. And this movie is still really great. This movie is amazing. There's a lot of little details that every time I went back to watch the movie, I picked up even more. One of the best soundtracks for a movie in ages, and it's just overall, it's just an amazing piece of work. Thank you, Edgar Wright, for making such a really great movie. And it's actually one of the most fun movies of this year, in all honesty, that I saw. There's a lot of movies that came out in 2017 that I still haven't seen. Star Wars! That's my top best and worst films that I did see in 2017 for the first time that weren't released and were released in 2017. Thank you very much for watching. I want to know what your best and worst films that you saw this year for the first time in 2017. Let me know in the comments below. I'd be glad to hear it. I want you to have a nice day or night or whatever time you watch this. Have a nice whatever. Thanks again for watching. May your movie watching experience be just as great. And fun fact, I did shoot part 1 and part 2 back to back. I just took the last minute decision to reshoot this to make it faster.